Hello everybody, Megazard X here. Back at it again to give you another very exciting video and whole fucking shoot. Man, oh man, I'm recording this not too long after the fact of that recent Nintendo Switch 2 Direct where they gave us a plethora of news. A lot of stuff they told us in that Direct and a whole bunch of stuff they told us on the website that wasn't necessarily in that Direct. And then they announced a whole bunch of games, first party, enhancement stuff, prices, everything else in between, third party stuff. This is going to be too much for me to talk about all in this one dedicated video. So over the course of like probably the next week or so, in the lead up to the pre-orders dropping for this system, there's going to be a series of different Zard Thoughts videos or just individual things that they managed to go through and announce where I go a little bit more in depth. But in today's video, I'm just going to give the overall feeling of how I felt on that Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, because man, that mess was a wild roller coaster. And man, oh man, Furukawa, I kept telling y'all, that man's a businessman. So I told you, this man is not playing around because this is his shit, the Direct with the Nintendo Switch 2. So man, oh man, we might as well go ahead and get up in it though. But if you hadn't already done so, make sure you go and hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into this video. All right, so to kick things off, they start off the presentation with Mario Kart World. They weren't playing around. I was thinking they were going to go ahead and start off with some little bit of just, what the console looks like again, or just the extra stuff up in it. But no, they went out guns a firing like everybody and their mama already knew it was going to be in the presentation. So let's not go ahead and dilly-dally up on this mess though. And that's the name of it, Mario Kart World. Not Mario Kart 9, but Mario Kart World. And I was looking at this mess, I was like, man, all the environments and stuff look beautiful, whether you're racing on water or on rugged terrain or something like that. Bowser's Fortress had a specific course up on the thing. I was like, all of this looks cool and dandy. This is everything I expected from a brand new Mario Kart game that we were expecting. And we've been waiting on this mess for about, oh gosh, like a better part of a decade or whatever though. But they kept adding more and more and more up onto this thing though. Because lo and behold, you start seeing all the different characters and stuff. And once we kind of had an illusion to like, hey, there could be more than just a typical 12 racers. Like it was getting up to like a crazy 24 characters and stuff. You start seeing a stupid amount of characters, even some that were like enemies from past Mario games just in general. I was like, good night. And then they started hitting you with the different modes and stuff. Like there's like a survival mode where you get to race all the way around. And then depending on if you're so far back in like closer to last place, you get eliminated, stuff like that. So they started going through some of the game modes like that. I was like, oh, that's cool. But then they were like, hey, between races, you can just race around. I was like, excuse me? Like, this is like an open world thing. Like, we're Tokyo drifting this mess up like a Forza Horizon or something like that. I was like, you know what? That definitely changes the whole game up with Mario Kart Worlds. I was like, oh my gosh. I was ecstatic and through the moon up on this mess though. And of course, they gave you the launch date for it. And it's the same day that the Nintendo Switch 2 actually happens to release. And I was like, man, that was wild starting off right there. Because I had a feeling Mario Kart World could be a launch game. I had a good feeling it would be. But the fact that Nintendo actually did it, I was like, good gracious sakes alive. Then we moved on from that, and then we went into, they jumped straight up into that C button. Everybody was kind of alluding to like, what could that C button possibly be? Would it be like a communication chat or something like that? We weren't too far off from the idea because it's specifically for game chat. So literally, when you see the little thing or the demo of this person doing it in the trailer, it literally feels like Discord has came to the Nintendo Switch 2. Like you literally could be playing your game. You can have up towards the, and I found out about this a little bit of information on the website itself though. You could have up to 12 people, but in this little trailer, they only were showing 4 though. But you can actually share your screen where other people are actually able to see whatever game that you happen to be playing and stuff like that though. So that is really cool in and of itself. And the fact that hopefully we'll get some more information probably from the treehouse and stuff like that. Some stuff that might have been announced by the time that this video happens to drop by this point though. But regardless though, the fact that you're able to go through and communicate with friends like this and share your screen and stuff like that, that's some really nice stuff. And then of course we got our first little bit of new hardware stuff. Like they managed to say, hey, you can plug a Nintendo Switch 2 camera on the top via that port for the USB-C, and be able to do some extra stuff like that where you're able to show off your face while you're playing through games. It can chroma key some stuff out in the background, so then it can be just your face, your body itself, or you in front of the gameplay in front of it. And that's kind of some similar wavelengths to what PlayStation does with their camera for anything that you playing on their PS5 though. So that's really cool though. And then they also, on top of that, added the fact on game sharing, which, you know, I think this is a blessing in disguise though, because if you think back to the DS days, you remember the old DS download play where only one person had the game and everybody else can just download a little bit of information and then you're able to play with each other. Well, that mess is coming back, but it's just being dubbed as game sharing. So literally you can have one person with the game and then have all these other people, for example, like Clubhouse Games. You can have 3 other people that don't own the system. And, you know, this applies not just with Switch 2, but also with Switch 1, because that's going to get a big major update for the Switch 1 people as well, to where, hey, you can play the game and then you can game share it locally with all these other people. However, it's not just local. You can do that mess online as well. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I was like, hey, you know what? They ain't playing around over here. I was like, I'm all for this one. Like, I feel like this is definitely a new age of Nintendo right here. So that's pretty cool. And then they had to give you like something of a equivalent of Astro's Playroom, like what you had with the PS5. And it's called Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. So kind of like, I guess it just kind of goes into the nitty gritty of the different features and stuff, like the magnets that are in the Joy-Cons themselves and all of that stuff. So there's some cool stuff that's this kind of intro based thing. It is going to be a digital only game, and and obviously you'll buy it off the eShop or whatever. So I'm not expecting it to be like nothing expensive, like $60, hopefully maybe 20-ish. But I am a little bit disappointed that was not a pack-in game though. But I mean, it is what it is. I don't think a lot of people are going to probably pick it up. Then we move over to some Switch games that managed to get some updates up on here though. And they first showed off Super Mario Party Jamboree, and it's saying it's getting that like plus TV mode or whatever though. So there's going to be some Switch games that not only get some natural improvements, whether it be visuals or like frame rates and stuff like that, but you get a little extra bonus content up in there, almost on the level of like DLC. And they're just packing that all in together though, and that's what they're doing with Super Mario Party Jamboree. Like, you're able to use like that camera that they're releasing for the system and stuff like that, using certain specific mini games, or the whole mouse feature when you're moving those Joy-Cons around and stuff like that. You're able to do some cool stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? I actually like them adding and putting a little bit of extra flair on the old, Switch 1 games, where I feel like they could probably use some extra little bit of content though. I wasn't the only one though, because then we figured out there's also some other enhanced games. And yes, the rumors were true. Breath of the Wild, along with Tears of the Kingdom, are both getting enhanced versions of these games though. That's pretty cool to see, because when they showed off the little bit of footage, the games are running at a good 60 FPS. Like, visually, it looks good and everything about it. I'm like, oh shoot, yes. Now, people are going to be wondering, like, well, what's going to be the price range for these Nintendo Switch 2 editions, as they're kind of dubbing them as? Well, at least with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, thanks to a little bit of information from the website, both of these are only going to cost like an additional roughly about 10-ish or so bucks. However, if you manage to buy Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack for these two particular games, at least what we're starting off with, they'll be included for free if you have NSO Plus expansion pack. So if you're in that tier, you naturally get these upgrades of these games though. Luckily, they say they do work for physical and digital games of the same sort though. So that's going to be some really nice stuff right there though. I'm kind of curious to go back and that maybe dabble with Tears of the Kingdom. And they even did like a update and compatibility with like, there's like a voice log thing that you can do with the Nintendo Switch app, which they're not calling like Nintendo Switch Online app anymore. They dubbed it as just like a standard Nintendo Switch app, because there's going to be some extra changes and stuff up in there, like for example screenshots, videos and stuff that you would take on your Switch 2 that can get automatically sent to the phone. So they're actually revamping that app now, thank goodness, now that we got the voice chat and stuff online and stuff like that. Then we move over to the next announcement, that being Drag X Drive. Now this one right here is a brand new IP. I was expecting something brand new from Nintendo though, but I wasn't necessarily expecting one to be like, hey, you're on a wheelchair and you're playing like, some basketball or whatever though. I think it's a good way to debut the Joy-Cons and you being able to just be able to roll them You can roll the left Joy-Con up, the right one forward, backwards, all that stuff, shooting stuff. So I think it's a good showcase, if you want to call it like that, to be able to just fully use the Joy-Con mouse features that are included though. So not too bad. I wasn't expecting anything like that, but okay. Then you get into a whole bunch of buttload of third-party games though. Like they started off with Elden Ring, then they said Split Fiction is coming, Hogwarts Legacy, which we already had that on the Switch 1, but it should run a lot better on Switch 2. You got Hades 2, Street Fighter 6, Tony Hawk's Pro Skaters 3+4, Hitman World Assassination, which I guess they're gonna have a little bit of crossover with 007, I think, as well. Cyberpunk, and then a whole bunch of other stuff as well, though. Even Deltarune, like Chapter 3 and 4 is gonna be a launch day title for this thing. They even teased Hollow Knight Silksong is coming out in 2025. So I was like, oh my gosh, they were definitely not letting up on this whatsoever, though. Now, this next announcement where things got a little bit spicy, because already at this point, I felt pretty good about this presentation. But then they turn around and say, you know what? We got a little bit of a collaboration with one of our third-party people, though. So I was like, what is this? And then the second that they brought up Koei Tecmo, I was like, wait a minute. Is this another Warriors game? And then you see all the Zelda characters coming up. I was like, there's your Zelda game for this year. A lot of people were wondering if it's going to be Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, or anything like that. Nah, man. Or at least for the most part, nah. Because Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, this is all about the imprisoning war part that happened prior to the events of everything that happened in Tears of the Kingdom. So I was like, you know what, that's gonna be really cool, because literally, if you think back to like Age of Calamity or anything like that, there were some points up in there and some other Musou games where literally, the frame rate was abysmal, and you couldn't really figure out what the heck was kind of going on with it though. Like you could tell the Switch one was kind of holding that mess back. So there was like some really bad JoJo up with those versions of those games though. But with this one being on the Nintendo Switch 2, we shouldn't have any issues with this whatsoever though. So I'm like, oh, okay, good. That's really nice that we managed to get a new Hyrule Warriors game that should confidently run well on the Nintendo Switch 2. Then they say, hey, y'all think y'all full though, but look, it was halfway through this presentation. We still got some more stuff to show to y'all. They managed to give us a brand new system for Nintendo Switch Online, which they renamed it as Nintendo Classics. Just kind of keep that in the back of your mind though. But yeah, GameCube is coming onto the system. And I'm like, heck freaking yes. Man, oh man. I was like, man, I thought we were going to get a new system. I didn't know if we were going to get it in this presentation or not though. But the fact that we got it regardless, I'm like, heck freaking yes though. And it is going to come out in release on the day that the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out. So, hey, we're going to be able to have 3 different games. It's not a big library, unfortunately though. But I mean, granted, give it enough time and we're gonna have a lot more announcements up in it though. But it's gonna start off with Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, which for all of y'all that have been begging for Wind Waker HD port or whatever though, well, here you go. It is a higher resolution than what it is for the baseline GameCube one though, but it's in that 4:3 aspect ratio and stuff. Soul Calibur 2 that featured Link up in the game as well. That's really nice stuff. And F-Zero GX. With this F-Zero game up in here, now it is possible to play the whole entire F-Zero series, everything from the Super Nintendo all the way up to the GameCube. Now Nintendo just needs to give us a brand new one and we'll be on and cooking though. But the fact that we got GameCube coming, that's really cool. And then they said there's going to be some more upcoming games along the way, such as like Path of Radiance, Chibi Robo and stuff like that, Luigi's Mansion, and the list kind of goes on and on and on. I'm like, oh my gosh, the 2 Pokemon games, Gale of Darkness and Coliseum and such, even Sunshine, and I don't know, I feel mixed about that one, whatever though. But a lot of great GameCube games are going to be coming on the distant horizon. And they also said that GameCube controller for NSO people, they're going to sell that mess too. That one's going to be really tricky to grab because I know a lot of people have a lot of nostalgia for GameCube, so that's going to be really tough to grab though. But yeah, great stuff for the GameCube stuff. Then we rolled it on over to From Software. They showed up in this presentation and I was like, what the heck? Because I was watching this thing live reacting. There's a video on the channel for that though, where I was interacting with a whole bunch of people in my Discord call with my buddies and stuff like that, and everybody was like, what the freak is From Software doing up here in the Nintendo presentation? Well, it's a brand new game called Dusk Bloods. Well, it's basically, fans have been clamoring to get a Bloodborne something related thing for the longest time. But the fact that Nintendo said, we got y'all, and not only we got y'all to show this off the first time in their presentation, it's going to be an exclusive game for the Nintendo Switch 2. And I'm like, what on earth? I was like, that is wild right there. So yeah, if you want to play this game, you love yourself some From Software games, you're going to have to buy this game. It does come out in 2026, so we do have to kind of wait for it a little bit. Then we got hit with a couple other last remaining thoughts that they managed to have up for this Nintendo Direct. And they managed to end it off with 2 more first-party games. The first one had us in the first half. I ain't gonna lie. I was thinking with the people I was watching with, was that some kind of Kirby related something. We weren't even thinking on the lines of a Kirby game. It looked so serious at first with the darkness over there, casted over Kirby and stuff, and on that star that he was riding on. We were thinking maybe it was Smash, but that was gonna be wild. The dude announced Smash Brothers in this kind of presentation. Nah. The second that they popped them jet engines in the back, yes, we managed to get ourselves some Kirby Air Riders. So, a second game after Kirby Air Ride, which was originally released back on the Nintendo GameCube in the past. I was like, heck freaking yes. I just recently picked that game up for the GameCube for my collection. It was like one of the last few games I said, you know what, I'm content on this because I know GameCube was going to come over to the NSO at some point. So I'm just going to call it for my collection right there. And good gracious sakes alive, the fact they're running this mess back. And guess who the director is? It's none other than Masahiro Sakurai. This was the game he teased when he said, hey, I've been in development for the next game. We just didn't know what it was. And everybody was thinking it could have been a Smash Brothers game. It makes sense. There was enough time for it though. But nah, Sakurai got us up in this one though. And this the next Kirby game he worked on since the original one? So that's wild right there. And last but not least, you had the final game in this presentation. At first I was looking at the one last thing and I was like, this gotta be good. It has to be a first party game. It's not going to be a third party. That's just the way how Nintendo operates and stuff. And I was looking around at the different environments and stuff. I was like, okay, this looks kind of weird. It looks kind of odd. And then I started over there and I thought I saw like a little bit of a banana or something like that. And then I just heard some things like shaking and breaking and stuff. And then lo and behold, the man DK showed up at this Direct. I was popping off in my reaction. I was like, what on earth? Because look here, Nintendo, y'all been waiting for the better part of over a decade since the last Donkey Kong game, brand new one, that being Tropical Freeze. And since then, we've been radio silence. Y'all been trying to bring a lot of those DK games via NSO and stuff like that. And then obviously you managed to bring out an HD version of Donkey Kong earlier this year. Tropical Freeze came a little earlier in the past. So I was like, man, oh man, when are we going to get a new Donkey Kong game? And they finally delivered. And it's not a 2D Donkey Kong game. It's a stinking 3D Donkey Kong game. I was like, oh my goodness. I just popped off and I lost all my collector nerves up in this mess though. Because Nintendo, they had me right here. And honestly, I'm kind of shocked because there was not a new 3D Mario, which you would expected them to end the Direct off with this though. But the fact they ended off with a DK game like this, it makes sense with the redesign and stuff that Donkey Kong's going through in the Mario Kart game. The different design he had in the Mario movie though, this is the reason why they've been pushing Donkey Kong so hard, because he's getting a brand new game. It looks like you can destroy all of the elements in the environment and stuff like that. He does have that slightly different redesign, kind of going closer to his 90s era age though. I don't know, I feel like I'll probably warm up with it just a little over time, because I know some people are going to be salty about the rare style being gone though, but doesn't look bad, but I feel like it definitely will grow on me. It does look a lot more expressive and stuff like that though. But it looks like the environments are so destructive. It looks like you can go anywhere, and it seems like it's just pretty big and pretty open with a lot of stuff to do, a lot of collectibles and stuff. But the fact they're doing a 3D and not a 2D style Donkey Kong game, it looks like it's made from the same people that were behind the Mario Odyssey team. So here's hoping. I was like, man, this one has got to be good. And the release date for this one, get this, it's coming out in July, a month after the system launches along with Mario Kart. So we don't got to wait barely 4 months before this game comes out. I'm like, heck freaking yes though. Oh my gosh, man, that was some kind of a Direct. Man, oh man, what a Nintendo Direct that was right there. Like, whole freaking shoot, this thing was filled to the brim. And even so much so that they didn't even talk about price point and stuff like that, prices of the accessories and anything like that, and then some finer details about maybe some stuff with the game chat and stuff like that, or some things with system specs and whatever though. And gosh dang it, I almost forgot. They even mentioned Pokemon Legends ZA as well as Metroid Prime 4 up in this thing though, as having like Switch 2 versions that actually run with better resolutions and just also with frame rates and stuff like that. I forgot to mention that just a while ago though. But yeah, there was so much stuff that even I personally forgot some stuff, and I was going through a whole bunch of notes and stuff like that as well. But man, y'all gotta let me know down in the comment section down below what all do you think about this Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. I know, yes, we got some updates since then in terms of all of the different pricings and stuff like that, but pushing that thought aside, if you just think about the presentation as a whole, what did you think about it? What would you rate that as a letter grade or whatever, A, B, C, or whatever though? I feel like most people are probably leaning on the side of A though, until you learn some little extra information though. But for the Direct itself, this one was a killer. I feel like it was definitely better in some regards than that original 2017 presentation though. Granted, yeah, that one had like a lot more first party games that were just brand spanking new though, because they're coming right off the heels of the Wii U though. This one was not letting up, especially from a third party perspective. And if you look at all the games where we're going to have at launch with Mario Kart along with the slew of third parties, it's going to be some kind of crazy launch right there though. So that's basically going to do it in terms of today's video though. So if you really like this video, make sure you go and hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing though. So remember y'all, until our video I make next, see y'all.